Hello everyone, and welcome to the Board Game Bistro. I'm Greg B., the co-host of Dragon's Demize, and the Board Game Bistro is a new video series where we'll be teaching you how to play various board games. On this first episode, we're going to start with Dragon Brew by August Games. Dragon Brew is a strategy game in the European style that serves 2 to 4 players. It's got really nice, bold mechanics, and it's got some delightful flavor. So, let's get started. Now, anyone can tell you that a good recipe starts with the ingredients, and the most integral ingredient in Dragon Brew is this, your player race card. This is the Halfling race card. As you can see, they have their name up at the top, and in the middle you can see that they have different starting resources, money, and recipe cards, although those won't actually change very much from race to race. Each race also has certain unique aspects. The Halflings start with a free upgrade to their grain field, so that they can produce more of the most basic and fundamental aspects of beer. Each race has slightly different ones, which makes them good at different things. Once each player's picked a race card, we can move on to the other ingredients. To start with, the actual ingredients. Ingredientception, you might say. These cubes in primary colors represent grains, rye, wheat, and barley. They're the most fundamental aspects of beer, and they'll be used to commonly make low quality, but very important beers. These next small discs in secondary colors are wort. Wort is a slightly more advanced ingredient that's mostly created by combining 2 different colors of grain, as you might guess from the fact that they're secondary colors. They'll be used in slightly more fancy beers, things that get you more points or more money. And finally, we have magic ingredients. These are hexagonal wooden pieces in black, brown, white, and pink. Magical ingredients are very rare and very expensive, but they do make the best beer. The pink ones in particular are mana weed, which is a wild ingredient and can be used to substitute for just about any other ingredient. Once you've got your ingredients set up, you can move on to the cards. There are 5 different types of cards, and we'll start with the most simple, recipe cards. Recipe cards come in 2 varieties. These green cards are spices. There are also brown barrel cards. Each brew is comprised of 1 or more spice cards and exactly 1 barrel card. Each card has ingredients that are required, in this case 2 purple wort, and it has components that it adds to the brew. The yellow is color, the red is strength, and the brown is bitterness. Each of these values will be judged differently by the judges, which we'll talk about later. Each card also contributes certain amounts to the profitability of the beer. Yellow for coins, blue for victory points. So as you can see here, this Jolly card doesn't give you any aspects of your beer, but it does just give you some raw materials. Next up, we have event cards. Event cards are one of the types of cards that you can acquire throughout your turn, and they give you one-time bonuses. As you can see, each event card has a cost at the bottom, in this case 4 coins, and the thing that it provides at the top, in this case a mana weed, as I mentioned, that rare wild ingredient. Event cards have a couple of different varieties. This is a trader that allows you to exchange gold for ingredients. There are also beer festivals that allow you to exchange grains for money. There are quests that allow you to exchange money or meeples for points or other items. And there are migrant gnomes, which allow you to trade money for actions. These are understandably very powerful and also rare. Next are the brewery cards. These cards are going to be used to upgrade your brewery in a more permanent capacity, whether as actions or upgrades. Just as with events, each brewery card has a cost located at the bottom, in this case 3 coins, and some information at the top about what type of card it is. The red arrow denotes that this is an upgrade, and the little 1x in the top corner tells you that this is a multiplier card. This card will be added to one of your existing brewery actions to allow you to take the associated action 1 additional time at no additional cost, at least not in terms of meeples. You will still have to pay money and/or ingredients. Unlike this upgrade is passive and will permanently apply regardless of whether or not you activate the card. As with event cards, brewery cards come in a couple of different types. Upgrade cards will be applied to your existing actions. New action cards will be available for you on subsequent turns to place a meeple and take that action. And there are also spells and free actions. For spells, require that you pay a cost and can only be performed once per year, where free actions may have a cost but don't have to, and can be performed as many times as you want. The final type of card to talk about are judges. Judge cards have a number of components. At the top, we have the name for flavor, as well as the number of victory points that they award to the beer that wins their award. At the bottom, they have the parameters that they'll be judging on, in this case, strength and color, as well as an arrow that denotes whether they want high or low values in that particular parameter. As we can see here, this judge values beers that have high strength and also high color. However, this is the primary characteristic, and the secondary characteristic will only be judged if there's a tie. So those are judge cards, the final type of card. There are also a handful of other ingredients that are going to be important throughout the game. Ribbons, which are awarded to beers that win judges, and are serving as sort of a tiebreaker in case people have the same amount of points at the end of the game. Coins, which are obviously used to purchase things, and purple meeples that represent migrant gnomes. You won't start the game with any gnomes, but you may acquire them over the course of the game. And there you have it. That's a look at all of the ingredients to play Dragon Brew. Now, let's get started with preparation. So now that we've got all our ingredients accounted for, we have to set them up. I've taken the liberty of doing that, but I'll run you through how to set up your own board at home. The biggest single component is the scoring board at the top. Each player will place their scoring track, in this case white and blue. On top will be the player who most recently finished a full beer or root beer. This is also the space where you have your judges, in this case Captain Rick, Christy Brewer, and Henrietta Snake Eyes Galore. Below these, you have your event and your brewery cards, which will collectively make up the card drafting section. This is where you'll take from during your drafting phase of the spring actions. Below these, you have your recipe cards, 5 barrels and 5 spices. These will be flipped up throughout the game as players acquire them using their brewer's study or other actions. You also have judged cards, which will be flipped over during subsequent years, coins, which are just up here off screen, and ingredient. In each player section, you have a player screen, which will protect their recipe cards, as well as their gold and ingredients, along with a full suite of actions. In this case, the halfling with their upgraded grain fields, as well as the other actions for the study, trader, mash house, stores, and brewery. This is what a fully set up 2-player game will look like. But wait a minute. A 2-player setup? I'm all alone here. Am I supposed to play against myself?
Nope.
Oh hey!
Hi!
It's my co-host Leslie.
And I brought beer.
I do love beer. Fancy beer from the looks of things.
It is very fancy beer. I don't know that it has magic ingredients though.
Probably not. I think pixie wings are hard to come by in the real world.
You might be surprised.
Pleasantly so.
All right.
Well, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. As the white player, the halflings, I'm first since I most recently finished a full beer, or root beer for those of you who don't drink, like our co-host Jacob. And let's see, what am I going to want to do? First, let's talk about what I can do. During the spring game phase, which is what we're playing through right now, each player will take turns performing different types of actions. The different types of actions that they can perform are spells, which they may perform if they've purchased some, free actions, also optional, drafting cards, in which you take cards from the center row by paying their costs. Those are what we talked about earlier during the ingredients phase. And finally, brewer actions. Brewer actions are the only mandatory type of action, and they are represented by the types of actions that you see on cards down in your player section. By default, every player will have the same player actions. A brewer's study, which learns new beer recipes, a brewery, which can increase the number of beers you brew during the fall phase, grain fields, which allow you to grow and harvest grain, a magic trader, where you can trade gold for magical ingredients, a mash house, which allows you to turn grain into wort, and a winter store, which isn't an action, but does allow you to save ingredients at the end of the year. Some races will have additional action cards, and any race can acquire additional action cards throughout the course of the game by drafting them. Well, I've got these upgraded grain fields, so I'm going to go ahead and use a meeple to take advantage of those. I'm going to want, let's take a look here. I'll take a blue and 2 yellows and 3 reds with my upgraded fields. I'll go ahead and put those behind my player screen. And I also get a card drafting action, so I'm going to take this Dragon's Den because I'm probably going to be wanting access to magical ingredients.
Super.
Replace that immediately.
Oh, now I can see your cards.
How scandalous.
All right, so I've not played this before either, so I'm learning along with you. But it seems to me that getting a Sasquatch to mash my ingredients makes the most sense because that's much more efficient.
They are pretty good at that.
Yeah, I have to pay for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, we'll just put the money in the bank.
Dunk.
All right, so I have upgraded that. I'm gonna head over to the farmer's market, get a red and a blue, not in that order. All right, and then head over onto the grain fields. I'll get another red and a blue. I get 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
A yellow, and how about another red?
Sounds pretty good to me.
And I have to pay for the farmer's market.
Oh, that's right.
Yep. So, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to the farmer's market, but the vendors do like to be paid.
It is, yeah, it's kind of the courteous thing to do.
Don't just take samples.
Right.
Cool.
All right, on to turn 2. Well, I've got this Dragon's Den that it's just now occurring to me that I forgot to pay for. So I might as well use that. I'm gonna put a meeple onto there. I'm gonna take myself a nice black dragon scale.
Tasty.
And I'm gonna draft another card. I feel like this transmutation spell is gonna come in handy. Mana weed is that wild ingredient as we mentioned, and I do grow a lot of grain. So I'm gonna pay 2 gold for that.
I'll replace that one.
And it's your turn.
Ooh, it's a pack gnome. All right, my turn.
The poor gnomes in this game are just so abused.
No, poor gnomes. All right, so let's see. I think I'm gonna head back on over to the farmer's market. Let's remember to pay them first this time. And I'm gonna get a yellow and a blue. And then let's use the mash house, make some use of that Sasquatch friend. And so I'm going to mix up the red and yellow to get an orange. I'll toss those back there. I mean, red and yellow to make orange. This is very intuitive.
Yeah.
Another red and yellow. Did you not think about that?
I did, but I'm not the one who designed the game, so it's kind of a miracle.
And then red and blue make purple. So, sweet. I get to use it 3 times because I have a Sasquatch friend. And let's see. Victory points are always good, so let's grab this quest card.
Right? And now the payment for that isn't in coins, it's in meeples.
Oh no!
So,
do I put him here?
you do have 1 fewer action to use this year, but it's probably worth it because you're just going to get a point. Bam.
See, I'm winning.
Straight up. You're winning. Yeah. If we stopped right now, you would win.
I would win this game. First time. Awesome.
Yep.
Okay.
You can have a 100% win rate if you just get really distracted right now.
All right, so that's the end of that turn.
All right. Turn 3 for me. I am also going to use the mash house, although it's not going to be as effective as yours because I don't have Sasquatch. I'm going to pay
Sasquatch friend.
a blue and a yellow to get a green. And how about red and a yellow to get an orange? Now, as always, I do have another drafting action, and I'm still producing a lot of grain, or at least I would be. So let's get a tavern and start changing some of that out for money. I'm gonna change out this 3
Money's always
for
good.
2 1s. And that's my turn 3.
Awesome. Well, I think pixie wings sound handy. 3 monies. 3 monies for some pixie wings.
Magic ingredients are always really good.
Yep. And then do I just take that right now?
You do. You just get
Awesome.
it straight up.
Cool. All right. And then let's go visit the brewer's study because recipes are more fun. So I'm gonna pick up, well, dragon.
Gotta have the dragon.
Gotta have the dragon. And dancing beer? I mean, How do you resist dancing beer?
Isn't all beer dancing beer if you have enough of it?
Probably true. And then I don't want them to all be magical, so let's go for a Pilsner. Because I really like Prague.
Whatever you can use to justify it. Let's replace those. And there you go. That's a quick run through some of these turns. We're going to speed through the rest so that we can get to the scoring, which is to say, the tasting. As you can see, the table looks a little bit different. We've gone ahead and skipped the cooking time and moved straight on to scoring, tasting, the good stuff. So, behind each of our player screens, we have beers with ingredients laid out on top of them that we will be scoring now. You ready to reveal?
Let's do it.
Ta-da! And now, one of the fun parts about this game is that each of your beers will have a little descriptor. So, for example, my Holy Fireball Saison. So, the rules suggest that maybe you pitch it a little to the judges. So, I've got this Holy Fireball Saison. It's really exciting, really, really vibrant. It really, it lights your mouth on fire. Not literally, thankfully.
You sure?
I mean, there is some magic in it, so I can't really say for sure, but I'm hoping that it doesn't set any of you on fire and that you will judge me accordingly.
All right. Well, I have a Dragon Pilsner. Simple and traditional beer, just like they like it in Europe.
But also dragons.
Also dragons.
Also dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's better with dragons.
Everything's better with dragons. Except, I don't know if pixies are better than dragons, but that's a conversation for another day.
Strong words. Next up for me, I've got a burnt green ale. I know, again, with the fire theme, I was really inspired by a lot of the wildfires that we've had this season, I guess, in this fantasy land. And I really wanted to capture the danger, the essence of what it is to be burnt in your mouth.
Green.
And green. Yeah, green is also there. Because of the renewal of the wilds and... Stop doing this to me.
Too much Mystic Veil.
Too much Mystic Veil.
All right, so my next beer is Phenomenal Bunny Lager. Who would not want to drink Phenomenal Bunny Lager?
I would want to drink that.
I mean, everything's in the name, really. Phenomenal Bunny Lager. It says everything. It'll keep you hopping.
And last up for me, I've got a Fungal Barley Ale. Again, this is very earthy. I'm going for a natural world inspired flight this season, and it really brings some low down earthiness. It's got you really feel it in the back of your mouth, and I hope that you all enjoy it. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, my next up is Frisky Elemental Saison.
Ooh.
Saison is actually my favorite kind of beer. Not that you care, but that's cool. Frisky Elemental. I've got a real mythical theme going on, and I'm gonna stick to it.
Definitely.
And I wonder though if there's beer elementals. Water elemental, fire elemental.
There definitely
beer
are.
Elemental. Frisky Elemental Saison. Find it at your local fancy beer store.
Sounds good. And your last?
My last one is a Bastard Stout. Again, keeping it simple. I think that, when you get right down to it, people who like beer for a reason, and traditional is always good to fall back on.
All right. So there we go. That's the pitches for our various beers. As you can see, I only made 3, the normal limit. Leslie made 4 during that speed run of our spring session. One of her actions was to use her brewery to increase the number of beers that she can brew. So that's why that's happening. And I think it's probably going to pay off for her, but let's get judged. So, Captain Rick is our first judge. He likes high bitterness. So first of all, what is your beer with the highest bitterness?
Well, my Dragon Pilsner has got a 3 bitterness.
Okay, my burnt green ale also has a 3 bitterness. So we move on to the secondary characteristic, color, high color. What is yours?
My Dragon Pilsner is only a color of 1.
Ooh, I've got a color of 2, so I am going to score Captain Rick. So, the judge moves off to the side. I take this award here, and I score 1, 2, 3, 4 points for Captain Rick. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, because the burnt green ale has already scored this season, it cannot earn another ribbon. So that's why that remains in play for now, to denote that.
Cool.
Next up, Christy Brewer, high color. Your highest color among all ales.
All right, my bastard stout is a 2.
Okay, my burnt green ale is also a 2, but as we just discussed, burnt green ale can't compete anymore, and all my others are 0s.
No.
So you're gonna score Christy Brewer.
Sweet.
There you go. There's your ribbon.
All right there.
And 1, 2, 3 points.
Cool.
And finally, Henrietta Snake Eyes Galore. So we're looking for high strength. Highest strength among beers you control. Or have brewed, I suppose.
That's the red number.
Mm-hmm.
2. So these are both a 2.
Okay. I have a 4.
Oh,
so
wow.
I go ahead and take that one handily, which is going to give me 1, 2, 3 points. So that's the end of judging.
All right.
Sorry, not quite. Bam. Now that's the end of judging.
All right.
Now, there's one thing left in the fall phase, and that is taking our beers to market. So, no matter whether a beer won a ribbon or not, whether it's a humble Dragon Pilsner or an award-winning burnt green ale, it really sounds backwards, but I'll take it. You do get to sell it, so that gets you victory points as well as money. That happens in turn order, so I'm gonna start. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 victory points. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 money for my beers. So those 3 coins will be mine to use at the beginning of next season.
Super. All right. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 victory points.
Goodness.
Well, that phenomenal bunny lager. Worth a lot of coin here. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 money.
7 money, all right. So it is worth noting that even though I won more awards on my particular beers, Leslie got way more points for the beers that she brewed, and because scoring happens in turn order, she gets to place her token on top of mine, which means she gets to go first next time.
Sweet.
Well, there is the structure of a turn, but we're not quite done. Any chef will tell you that it's very, very important to have a clean kitchen. So we have one final season, winter, during which we're going to break down all of our components. We are going to discard all of the ingredients that we used on our beers. We're going to discard all of the judges that judged this season. Set aside our ribbons. Discard any unused ingredients, minus however many you can store on your winter storage, which is one of your action cards, which we have unfortunately taken down, but you do have them. You also reset your recipe cards. Now, every character has a brewer's study, which has a certain capacity for recipe cards. By default, for most races, this is 10, but you can increase it with upgrades or by being elves, for example. That means you get to keep no more than that number of recipe cards, despite however many you may have acquired during the season. So let's assume that it's 10. I'm going to go ahead and keep 1, 2, 3 barrels, getting rid of this one. And let's go with, I like some magic ingredients. How about some wort to mix it up? That's 5. And we'll round it out with another wort and a grain. So these are the recipe cards that I'll be moving forward into next season. These will get discarded. Similarly, you would reset all of the cards in the center. All of the event cards, all of the brewery cards, and all of the recipe cards that are still available for purchase. Each of those gets cleared and replaced during the winter phase so that you're ready to start fresh. Importantly, that does happen after you decide which recipes to keep, so you don't quite know how to plan, and it's really up to you to stick with a balanced strategy. And there you go. That is 1 year in Dragon Brew. Now this is a thrice-baked recipe, so you're going to want to repeat that 2 more times in order to get final scoring. Depending on how much analysis paralysis, I think the term is, you want to dust your recipe with, this can take anywhere from 60 to 120 minutes. But at the end of it, you'll have a very nice, satisfying, really truly tasty experience, for 2 to 4 players. Thank you for joining us on the Board Game Bistro, and thank you, Leslie, for joining me here.
Thank you for helping me learn this new game.